incident, subsequent to this incident, there has never been a homicide committed in the manner that was happened in your home, okay, in that area. Okay, so we have a security conscious couple.
Wasn't there some guy that was found like right down the road, and you say it's a low crime area? It was somebody that was found murdered in a field. So for being a low crime area,
statistically, it's a low crime area. Okay,
She doesn't agree with you.
okay, that's fine. That's fine.
From what
That's
I
fine.
experienced.
Okay, so we've got a.
She's sitting there laughing. But what she doesn't know is that the detectives across the table, they already see through her. From the very first minute, they know she's hiding something. We are in November 18th, 2009. Police walk into a quiet home and find 37-year-old Jeremy Simko lying in bed, shot in the head at point-blank range. His wife, Julene, tells them an intruder must have done it. No broken windows, no forced entry, no alarms. She says someone crept in through the dark, found a gun hidden in the nightstand, killed her husband, and disappeared like a ghost. No footprints, no DNA, no noise, nothing. And yet, something about Julene's calmness, her tiny smirk during questioning, it doesn't sit right. Because if you listen closely, her story is full of cracks. Today, we're diving into the full interrogation of Julene Simko, a woman whose every word feels rehearsed until it doesn't. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? It helps me bring you more true cases from your area, maybe even ones that happen closer than you think. Welcome to Caseborne.
Okay, on Wednesday, November 18th, 2009, at approximately 6 a.m., your husband was found shot through the head in your home, in your bedroom. If you could, I'd like you to please recount for us your activities leading up to that event, beginning with the previous 24 hours, going back to Tuesday morning, November 17th, 2009, and then going forward to the time you called 911, and then after that, we'll discuss the following days after that event. Okay? So take your time, your own words, if you just recount for us everything that happened.
You, like 24 hours before?
Yeah, when you got up Tuesday morning. How did Tuesday morning start?
I don't remember everything.
Okay, as best you can.
During the day, we worked on the property behind us, worked in the yard, leaves, raking leaves, etc. Yard work in general.
Okay.
We were canning pumpkins the night before. I mean, I don't know specifically. I mean, those, just basically what I told you. I don't know anything specifically. Just we were working in the yard, working on the property behind us, taking stuff to the street for trash pickup. Other than that, there's nothing, really exciting, just normal day-to-day stuff. And then that evening we were canning pumpkins, watching a TV show, discussing, future plans. We went, I don't know what time we went to bed for sure, but when we went to sleep, we usually go sleep together. I believe Jeremy had taken the dogs out, hooked them up before we went up. Went to sleep at some point during the night. The dogs were barking outside, and he had woke up and, yelled out the window at the dogs. And then both went back to sleep. And at another point during the night, I, went up to the third floor and went to sleep up there. And then I woke up to whatever sound that I heard, obviously was a gunshot. I went back down to the second floor because I thought Jeremy was shooting out the window. And I went to the bedroom and I found him in the bed. And I thought I heard some noises out in the hallway. I realized that something was wrong, that I heard some noises out in the hallway, and I picked up the gun out of the drawer, and I shot towards the hallway. And then I think I went over and closed at some point. I don't know if it was right after that I went and shut and locked the door to the bedroom.
Mhm.
And then I went in the bed to help Jeremy, and I called 911.
Okay.
And then I was on the phone with the 911 operator until the police got there.
And what happened then?
After the police got there,
Hmm.
I remember them coming into the room. I think there were 2 or 3 of them, and I kind of remember little parts. I don't remember the whole thing,
Okay.
but I remember them being in the room. I remember them taking me out of the room, and I remember being in my bathroom at the house.
Hmm.
I remember there being like a lot of people when I came out of the bedroom. It seemed like there were a ton of people in the house.
Hmm.
And then, I remember being in the front room of the house, of the second floor. And I remember walking out of the house, them walking me out of the house. I remember seeing bullets in a shoe. I don't know why. It stuck out. There were bullets in a shoe by the back door. And then I remember getting, I think it was a police car. I don't know what they took me to the hospital.
Hmm.
And when I was at the hospital, in the hospital room, they kind of, I don't remember really ever seeing any,
She's crying now. And I don't know about you, but something about those tears feels off. You ever notice when someone cries? But it's not grief you're seeing. It's pressure. That's what this feels like. Because those tears don't come when she's talking about losing her husband. They come right after the detectives start poking holes in her story. And here's the thing. This couple, Julene and Jeremy, they weren't careless people. Far from it. They had alarms on the doors, cameras outside, even 2 guard dogs. The kind of setup that makes you feel like nothing, and no one, could get in without being noticed. So tell me, how does an intruder supposedly slip in the middle of the night, move through a dark house without a sound, find a hidden gun, shoot Jeremy point blank in the head, and then disappear, leaving no trace, no sound, no sign of forced entry, no broken locks, no alarm, not even a bark from the dogs? Come on, that's not a break-in. That's a ghost story. And yet, Julene swears it happened. But here's the problem. Her version doesn't just sound impossible, it is. So now, let's take a closer look. Let's break down exactly where her story starts to fall apart, one inconsistency at a time.
Okay. Just to give you a little break from that a little bit. Let's talk about some other things that are what we would consider pre-event. You have a concealed weapons carry permit, is that correct? Mm-hmm. And actually, as I recall looking at the records, you're on your 2nd term with a, okay.
I don't know if it's my 2nd term, but I had to renew.
Okay. Erie County?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I saw in the file to renewal, a renewal and a new one. So let's talk about handguns, because as I understand it, from some of the people we've talked to and reports I've read, we're not unfamiliar with the outdoors and hunting and things like that. So, when did you first get your CCW permit?
I don't remember the
Okay.
year.
Well, let me
There
ask
was
you
a whole
this.
group of us that went to get it.
Okay, where did you get your training at?
I want to say Rochester Township, maybe. There was a
Okay.
classes that we went to.
Do you remember who the instructor was?
No.
Okay, and what did that training consist of?
Safety with a weapon. Some of the laws I think we went over.
Mm-hmm.
How to clean a gun.
Okay, and was there any actual live fire that you had
At
to
the end
perform?
there was. We had
Okay.
to pass a competency test, I think.
And did you pass that test?
I got my concealed carry.
Okay,
So
and
yes.
what type of firearm were you using at that time?
357.
Okay, the 6-inch or the one that's in the vehicle, the 2.5 inch,
That was the large one.
the large one. Okay, so you carried that.
I
And-
didn't carry it.
Okay.
I never
No,
carried
I'm
the
saying for the
gun.
class. I'm saying for the class.
Yes, that's what we
Okay.
qualified with.
All right. And when you had that at the class, did you have a holster with that?
I don't remember.
When you at the range, you didn't put your gun in the holster during the different courses of fire?
I remember qualifying with it. I don't know if it was in a holster, what kind of holster. I know Jeremy and I both qualified with that gun.
You both used the same one?
Yeah.
Okay. So you obviously weren't shooting at the same time?
No.
Okay. And did you have any problems qualifying?
I think I probably had to shoot a couple times more.
Okay.
I qualified. I don't know how difficulty I had, but I qualified.
Sure. And prior to this, had you ever shot a gun before?
Yes.
Okay. How many times would you say?
I have no idea. I never shot a gun until I met Jeremy.
Okay. How soon after you met Jeremy did you begin shooting guns?
Probably pretty quickly.
Okay. And you got
I
married in what
started
year?
hunting with him right away.
Before you were married, or?
Yeah, before we were married.
Okay. So, and you were married, what, 14 years?
10 years at the
10
time.
years. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. 10 years. So 10 and a half years off and on you've been using guns. Is that correct? Okay. Is it fair to say you had a passing familiarity with guns?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the 9mm you guys had owned for how long?
He had it, I think, when I met him.
Okay. Were you and Jeremy the type of people that if you use equipment, you clean it after you use it?
Not every time.
Not every time.
Mm-mm.
Did you ever clean the weapons?
I helped him. I never did it by
Okay.
myself.
Have you
He was
ever
pretty good at
disassembled?
it.
Did you ever disassemble the 9mm?
I never had. I'm sure he probably had. Usually
Okay.
he was the one cleaning, and I was assisting.
Okay. Can you describe for me how to load a 9mm?
Well, it would have a clip
Mm-hmm.
that you'd have to manually load,
Right.
and then he always kept one in the chamber. So
Okay.
after he loaded it, he would put one in the chamber and then take the clip out and put another one in.
Okay.
I really didn't do it, but that's how he kept them.
Okay. All right. And when you guys shot, because as I understand it, that property that
You know what's funny? When you watch Julene talk about guns during that interrogation, you can almost see her trying to shrink herself, like she's building this image of a fragile woman, someone who barely knows which way to hold a firearm. When the detective asks how many times she shot her 9mm, she says, "Less than a handful. I don't even know what a handful is." He tells her, "A handful would be 5. And she goes, "Then probably less than that." Come on, less than 5 times? Really? You can almost feel the room tighten. Even the detective knows that's nonsense. Because here's the truth. This woman isn't some nervous bystander who's scared of guns. Julene has a concealed carry permit. In Ohio, that's not just a piece of paper you pick up at Walmart. You need to take a full course: safety, legal use of force, handling, and a live fire qualification test. That's 12 hours of training, minimum. And she's not on her first permit. She's on her second renewal. Meaning, this isn't new to her. She's been around guns for years. And it gets worse. During her qualification, she used the same .357 revolver that killed Jeremy. She even admitted, "I probably had to shoot a couple more times to qualify." That's not someone who's fired less than 5 times. That's someone who trains, who practices, who knows what she's doing. She also hunted with Jeremy, coyotes, raccoons, groundhogs, and often shot right from their window. She even carried a revolver in her car when she was alone. So yeah, this isn't her first rodeo. So why the act? Why pretend to be this timid, inexperienced woman who barely knows how to pull a trigger? Because it's a strategy, a psychological one. You make yourself look smaller, weaker, less dangerous. It's the oldest trick in the book. I'm not the type of person who could do that. I don't even know how. It's manipulation through self-diminishment. You've seen it before. Remember Susan Smith in the 90s? The woman who claimed a carjacker took her kids. She played the same game, the nervous, helpless mother who didn't know how to drive well. Turns out, she drove that car straight into a lake to kill her children. Or Diane Downs, who said a shaggy-haired man shot her and her kids. Same pattern. Pretend to be innocent by pretending to be incapable. And Julene fits right into that mold. The way she talks. I don't think. Probably less. Not really. It's vague on purpose. Every word is designed to create doubt, to make her sound unsure, harmless. But when you look at the facts, the license, the training, the hunting, the carry permit, the whole act collapses. Here's what really stands out. When the detective points out these contradictions, she doesn't get defensive. She doesn't correct him or clarify. She just stays vague, like she's afraid to commit to anything that could lock her in. That's not confusion. That's control. That's someone managing their image in real time. Because think about it. If she really panicked that night, if she really grabbed that gun in the dark after hearing a noise, how did she? Find the drawer, grab the gun, switch off the safety, and fire two clean, controlled shots down a dark hallway, all in a few seconds. You don't do that by accident. You do that when you're trained, calm, focused. That's not a scared woman reacting to a threat. That's someone who knows exactly what they're doing. And once you see that, you start realizing those little cracks in her story, they're not cracks. They're fingerprints. Signs of someone trying too hard to sound like what they think innocent should look like.
In your previous statements, you had indicated that you had brought a weapon from upstairs down to the bedroom. So that statement was wrong.
I didn't state that. That never happened.
Well, that was
Maybe
a
it was
previous statement.
misinterpreted. That didn't happen.
Okay. Also, you indicated in a previous statement that the automatic weapon that you took from the nightstand was actually in his nightstand, not yours. You indicated that's where it always was.
What are you asking me?
In a previous statement, you indicated when you went to get the automatic weapon that it was in his nightstand.
No, it was in my
Okay.
nightstand.
You indicated after that that that's where it always was.
Well, a lot of times I probably said, I don't know what I said.
Yeah.
It definitely got it from my nightstand.
It's very, I guess there's a lot of ironies here, but for example, in the sleeping pills that he took, you had indicated in a previous statement that he had taken sleeping pills for a long period of time and almost got basically addicted to it. And then he laid off of it because he was addicted to it. On this particular night that,
I stated that?
yes,
To who?
to the police.
Okay.
On this particular night, it just seemed to be coincidental that on the night he got killed, he happened to start taking sleeping pills at that time.
I wouldn't say he just up and started taking them.
Well, that's what you said. I'm not putting words in your mind. I mean, that's just
I
a
don't
previous
recall
statement.
saying anything like that. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I
it's
just,
frequent for him to take pills.
okay.
So
Okay.
it was not out of the ordinary.
If he didn't take those sleeping
Or
pills.
to drink. A lot of times he would drink NyQuil
Okay.
to sleep.
Okay. But on this occasion, he took sleeping pills from your statement.
Yeah.
Okay. If he hadn't taken the sleeping pills, and he would have woke up when someone was entering the room, and he would have reached for the automatic weapon, he wouldn't have found it in his nightstand because it would have moved to your nightstand.
It didn't matter which nightstand it was in. I mean,
Why
if
not?
it was in, I mean, I don't know how they want me to answer this. It
Well,
was either in mine or his, so it would have been there.
but wasn't it always kept in his nightstand? Is
A
that
lot of
what you
times it was
said?
kept in his, sometimes it was kept in mine.
Oh, because that's not a previous statement. You said it was always kept in his, but when you were cleaning, you went into the drawer and there were a lot of papers in there, so you moved the gun into your nightstand. Does that sound right? Do you remember what kind of papers that were in the drawer?
No idea.
Okay, all right. Had he woken up though, because the gun was always kept in his nightstand, he would have found no weapon had he tried to reach for it. It's just. It also seems pretty coincidental on the one night you indicated in a previous statement that you rarely slept upstairs. But on this particular night, you slept upstairs the same night he got killed. So we have this, on this particular occasion, we have him taking sleeping pills for the first time in a while. We have you going upstairs to sleep, which you rarely do. And you have his automatic weapon, which is no longer in his nightstand, but in yours. I mean, I just find that coincidental. If any one of those circumstances didn't exist, things may have been different. I don't know. I mean, do you have any explanation for any of that? I mean, no.
It makes sense that she didn't have an answer. At that point, you can tell she's starting to lose her footing. The detective stays calm, steady voice, almost gentle, but what he brings up next completely changes the tone. He lays out 3 coincidences. And honestly, once you hear them, they don't sound like coincidences at all. First, the sleeping pills. That night, Jeremy takes some. Nothing strange, right? Except Julene herself had told investigators that he'd stopped taking them a while ago because he'd gotten hooked. And yet, the night he's killed, he decides to start again? The detective says it flat out. It just seemed coincidental that on the night he got killed, he happened to start taking sleeping pills again. And he's right. What are the odds of that happening exactly that night? Then comes the gun. The 9mm was always Jeremy's gun, his security blanket, kept right next to him in his nightstand. But Julene says she moved it that night. She claims she was cleaning and there were papers in his drawer. So she just moved the gun into her own nightstand. Come on, who does that? Why not move the papers instead? Why, all of a sudden, move the gun, the one thing that could have saved him, on that particular night? And then, the third coincidence. Julene doesn't sleep in their bed that night. She says she went up to the 3rd floor, to the couch, because Jeremy was snoring too much, which, according to her, is rare, almost never happens. Yet that's the night she chooses to be 2 floors away, separated from everything. The detective sums it all up perfectly. If any one of those circumstances didn't exist, things may have been different. And he's absolutely right. If Jeremy hadn't taken those pills, maybe he would have woken up. If his gun had stayed where it always was, maybe he would have defended himself. And if Julene had been in bed next to him, she would have seen or heard something, maybe even been a victim too. But all 3 things just so happen to line up on the same night, the night he dies. At that point, you stop believing in coincidence. This feels like planning, like a setup, a controlled chain of events designed to make one outcome inevitable. And if you look at other murder cases, the pattern is always the same. Weaken the victim first. Make them defenseless. Stacy Castor gave her husbands sleeping meds before poisoning them. Chris Coleman drugged his wife and kids before strangling them. Diane Downs made sure her kids were strapped in before shooting them. It's always about control. Silence the fight before it starts. And Julene, she fits that exact mold. Jeremy's sedated, his gun's out of reach, and she's conveniently sleeping 2 floors away, ready to say, "I didn't see or hear anything." You can't ignore that. What's really telling is her reaction. When the detective lays it all out, she doesn't even try to argue. She just says, maybe it's not a lot of coincidences. That's it. No denial. No emotion. Just a quiet sentence that almost sounds like resignation. And that's the thing. 1 coincidence you can believe. Maybe even 2. But 3? All perfectly timed? No way. That's not chance. That's design. And now that we see the setup for what it really is, it's time to dig into the inconsistencies in her story. Because trust me, there are plenty.
You know, I believe that her statements are not inconsistent, and I think they're very consistent. And so I would have the same question of you. If her statements are consistent, does that automatically mean that she's telling the truth? No. If her statements are inconsistent, that automatically means she's lying. No. It just, the facts are the facts. So if you got some facts, I'm going to allow her to answer those.
Okay.
But I don't want to get into the, the coincidences and the speculations and, I mean, I don't know, did the dogs bark when the police arrived? Now, if they didn't bark when the police arrived, well, maybe that would, we know that there was a gun fired in that house. Did the neighbors hear a gunfire? Well, if they didn't hear a gunfire, then maybe there was no gun ever fired. Because isn't that a coincidence that it's a real quiet neighborhood and the neighbors didn't hear a gunfire, and so maybe a gun wasn't fired? Did they hear 3 shots? Well, they only heard 1. Well, then that's pretty a coincidence. So we can do a coincidence game, but just ask her some questions.
Sure.
We can
I understand.
move on.
No, I don't think so.
Julene, do you recall when you were in the emergency room at Community Hospital, when the emergency room asked you what happened, you saying, I shot my husband?
No, I didn't say that because I didn't shoot my husband.
Okay. You're emphatically saying you never
didn't
made
say
that
that.
statement. Okay. Do you recall telling an acquaintance of yours that Jeremy knows who shot him?
No. I mean, I don't recall, and I don't know who you're talking about if you don't tell me, or the conversation.
It was a friend of yours. You know, they'll come. I'm sure if there's a trial, it'll come out at trial. And if it doesn't, if we find something else, I'm not. I don't want to throw her or him under the bus, and that's why we're being a little vague on that. I can tell you, it's not something we're making up. It's something that we have recorded.
Is it Janine Andrew, maybe?
Say again.
Janine Andrew,
Who?
I don't know who that is.
Jean Marie?
maybe.
Okay. Did you ever? Do you recall ever? It's very simple. Do you recall ever telling anyone that Jeremy knows who shot him?
No.
Do you know if Jeremy knows who shot him?
No.
Okay. All right. Did you recall at the wake telling friends of Jeremy's, I wish I could tell you what really happened?
I don't recall saying that.
Okay. Do you think you made that statement? Okay.
All right, listen. Let's talk about what happened after that interrogation, because honestly, there's no point wasting time on Julene's endless denials. She kept saying she was innocent, but the evidence, it said something else entirely. For years went by, and then, in 2013, investigators finally charged her with first-degree murder, the premeditated killing of her husband, Julene Simko. They'd spent years building an airtight case, and when they walked into court, they had everything they needed. Julene's DNA was the only one found on the cabinet where the .357 revolver, the murder weapon, was stored. Her internet history showed she'd looked up her father's obituary just 11 hours before the shooting. Her statements were all over the place. One version at the hospital, another to her friends, another to the detectives. And there was no sign of an intruder. No broken locks, no strange fingerprints, no tracks, no alarm triggered, nothing. It was like this intruder she talked about simply didn't exist. By 2015, the jury took only a few hours to reach a verdict, guilty. 15 years in prison before life, without parole. They didn't buy her story for a second. And honestly, can you blame them? Julene didn't just make up a lie. She crafted a movie script. The perfect setup, the perfect killer, the perfect alibi. Except in real life, perfection doesn't exist. Real crimes are messy, impulsive, chaotic. The crime scene she created was too clean, too logical, too controlled. And that control, that's exactly what exposed her. Think about it. A real intruder would have broken something. The dogs would have barked. There would have been panic, movement, something. But none of that happened. Why? Because there was no intruder. Now the question everyone kept asking was why? Why kill the man she called the love of her life? We may never get the full truth. Julene still denies everything. But the investigation painted a pretty clear picture. Their marriage wasn't healthy. Investigators found what they called a father-daughter contract, a disturbing reflection of their dynamic. She said it was just role play, but multiple witnesses described Jeremy as controlling, dominant, even humiliating her in front of people. Combine that with her history of childhood abuse, and you start seeing the psychological mess underneath. Sometimes, unresolved trauma becomes the silent engine behind a tragedy. And then there was money. They were about to close on a massive 100-acre property. Big deal, big investment. And if Jeremy died, Julene got everything. The house, the savings, the life insurance. Financial freedom. But maybe the motive went even deeper. Control. Power. Freedom from a man she felt trapped by. Maybe killing him was, in her mind, a form of liberation. Twisted, yes, but psychologically, not unheard of. And that internet search, her father's obituary hours before the murder, that's not random. Maybe it was her way of tying her trauma to her justification. He hurt me. Jeremy's doing the same. I need to stop it. A disturbed form of closure. Now, as disturbing as this story is, there are lessons we can take from it. Lessons that might actually save lives. When a relationship is built on control, humiliation, or dominance, outside of any role-play context, it becomes abuse. And abuse ignored always escalates. If you or someone you know is in that kind of dynamic, talk to someone. Don't wait until it turns into a tragedy. And trauma. It doesn't vanish because you've moved on. Unresolved trauma festers. It shapes choices, partners, reactions. Julene's entire life seemed like a reenactment of what she'd suffered. Therapy isn't just a checkbox, it's survival. Her friends saw the red flags, too. The emotional distance, the tension, the weird vibe between them. But no one said anything. Sometimes, one hard conversation can change everything. And if you ever notice someone around you making suspicious changes, new insurance policies, odd searches, isolating a partner, don't ignore it. Those patterns repeat in case after case. The truth is, this case makes me angry. Because it didn't have to end like this. Julene could have walked away. She could have asked for help. Instead, she chose the one path that destroyed both their lives. Jeremy's gone at 37. Julene will probably die behind bars. 2 lives gone. One by murder, the other by a lifetime of guilt and prison walls. Murder is never the answer. Not for pain. Not for power. Not for freedom. So if you're stuck in a toxic situation, get out. If you have violent thoughts, seek help. And if you see someone in danger, don't stay silent. Because when you understand how these crimes are born, you can see the warning signs before it's too late. These cases aren't just true crime stories. They're real-life lessons in psychology, deception, and tragedy. So, before we close this one, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Your city, your state, your country. I love seeing how far these stories reach, and it helps me bring you cases that hit closer to home. Take care of yourself and your people. I'll see you soon, right here on Caseborne.